and get us going. I imagine more people will show up. But welcome, everybody. It is Monday, July the 4th, 2022 in Maui, and Tuesday, July 5th in most of the rest of the world, in Asia and Eastern Europe. We're glad that you're here. We had a week off last week to enjoy time with our family. Our son Jiva was visiting along with his fiancee, Hannah. And that's news, by the way, pretty new news, only a couple of weeks old, that we found out that they were going to be getting married. So that's a big celebration in our family. Yeah. And we really enjoy Hannah a lot. Um, and of course, we really enjoy Jiva. We had a great time hanging out, and the the best part probably was playing games and eating good food and just laughing a lot together and taking some walks and going to the beach and just relaxing. Really had a sense of vacation. And the worst thing about it was getting up this morning at to get them to the airport by 7:30. So we had to get up at about
No, not 7:30, honey.
yeah,
5:30.
yeah, we wanted to get them there by 5:30. Yeah, so their flight was 7:30. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
we're a
And
little jet lagged, even though we didn't go anywhere.
yeah, and Jiva is our son, and Hannah is his soon-to-be bride. Yeah, very nice. And she's a keeper. You know how it is. Someone's going into the family. Well, if I had the choice, I would pick her, but it wasn't my choice. And I'm celebrating that it was his. And yeah, we're very fortunate to have two people who are I can't call them my children. They're already well established as adults, and now a third one, Hannah, coming into our world. How lucky can you get? And I feel really lucky to be sitting here with all of you as well. It really touches me that we get this time together to see what we can all learn. Yeah, we have an agenda, but we're also learning along the way too as we share whatever we share. So thank you for being with us. And I'm not surprised if today will be a smaller group than usual because this is a holiday in the US. And so many people might be out there uh, doing fireworks and whatever at this hour. We'll see what happens.
We'll find out. Yeah, welcome everybody. More people arriving still. Um, if you're here for the first time, I see maybe some new names. Really glad you're here. I'm Jim Mansky, and my training partner and life partner is Jori Mansky.
Hi.
And we've been doing this practice group online for a couple years now. And we've been celebrating Interdependence Day for about 20 years since we got involved with nonviolent communication. We used to live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and once we got started creating community in the NVC community there, we started Interdependence Day celebrations, which meant that everybody would come over to our house. We'd have anywhere from, I don't know, 20 to 50 people come over and have a big potluck, and we had a field out in our backyard, and we'd play games and badminton and throw the ball around or whatever, and so it was really a chance to enjoy interdependence. So we thought we'd give us all a taste of that today and talk about the difference between interdependence, independence, and dependence, and kind of glide you and guide you through some practices to explore how we can navigate the process of moving from dependence into independence and then beyond to interdependence.
And we usually start with a self-connection exercise. And for that, we actually have someone doing a reading. And also then we go into breakout groups for those of you who are less familiar with what we do here. And so if you do not want to be in a breakout group, they're usually like 3 or 4. If you don't want to be in a group, please put an equal sign in front of your name so that we'll put you into a room that's a quiet room.
Yeah. And I don't see Corey here. Corey had suggested a remembering. Maybe we'll do it next week, or maybe she'll do it. She'll arrive here in just a few minutes. But let me just explain what we'll do today. We will start in just a moment with a self-connection exercise, which is just a chance to practice nonviolent communication with just yourself in kind of a meditative or contemplative way, a way to develop more of a sense of self connection, self compassion, self empathy. And then Jory will be making small groups for you to go and practice the other two ways that we enjoy learning about NVC. The honesty part, where you get a chance to speak your truth, whatever's meaningful to you to share from moment to moment when you're in those small groups. And then the empathy part, or the listening part of nonviolent communication, where we'll give you some guidance on how to do that when it's time to do that. Then we'll come back here and we'll do some connection in the large group like we're doing now. Then I got a little lesson planned with some practices and a couple of more breakout rooms. So the much of the fun today will be practicing interdependence in small groups. So if there's any way that you can stretch and make it work for you to do small groups, that'll be where all the fun is today. But of course, we really want to honor your autonomy to make a choice about whether you want to be in a small group or not. And as Jori, there's been a few more people arrive, so I'll just say it one more time. If you don't want to be in a small group, then you can do what Irene did, which is just put an equal sign in front of your name. And that is a signal that you want to be in a group where there's no expectation of talking, kind of we call it a library or a quiet group or something like that. And so with that, I don't see, as I look around the screen, I don't see Corey here. So maybe we'll do her remembering next week. And I don't know why this keeps going off. I'm going to unplug it. Okay, no more beeping. Okay, so any questions or comments before we start doing a self-connection practice? Hey, Rena, good to see you.
I don't see anybody with an equal sign in front of your name, so I plan to put everybody into a breakout room. But
there's
if
one
you
person,
don't
Jori. There's one person.
want-
Yeah, Irene.
Irene. Okay, so there must be people. I'm gonna recreate this then. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna recreate.
Sure. Yeah, it'll take a minute for me to do the self-connection exercise. Let me
Oh,
just,
you're gonna do the self-connection exercise. Okay,
yeah.
great, perfect.
Okay, I was just checking my email to see if we heard from Corey. And indeed, she had something come up unexpectedly, so she won't be here. So we'll just do a chance to just do the self-connection exercise. And it's already started. You're already doing it. We make it sound like self-connection exercise is something unique or different, but actually you're always connecting with something. And this is an invitation for you to have some awareness, some mindfulness about what you connect with and connect to. And you might just start by looking around at the screen and looking who we are today. This is the community that's self-selecting, choosing to be here. Hey, Don. And as you look around, you just might notice different sensations arising as you see people that maybe look familiar to you, that you've had experiences with in the past. Or you may have different sensations arise when you see somebody brand new. Or maybe you see something that touches your heart. And then you can let your eyes wander off the screen too Just look around in the room that you're in or the space that you're in if you're outside. This is an invitation to get connected to the world that you're in. We live interdependently with a planet, indeed, with an entire universe. And so look at where you are. And again, as you look around, you can attune to physical sensations in the body that might arise. Or emotions. And then you can let your eyes rest on something that you find enjoyable, something that stimulates gratitude, something that you enjoy. Just rest there and allow yourselves to take it in, to experience a moment of joy or gratitude, love, whatever it is for you. And then if you'd like to, you can close your eyes and shift from looking at the world, being with the world, and notice your body. One way to attune to the body is to notice the breath. I'm predicting that every single one of you is breathing. Every breath is an experience of interdependence. Every breath contains oxygen. Oxygen is a gift that we receive from the plants that we share the world with. So with every breath, you could just practice saying thank you. And then on the exhale, you can give your own gift back because your body doesn't need the carbon dioxide, which is actually required for plants to have a happy life. So every breath out is a gift that you give to the plants, to the forests. We all share the same air, even though Jori and I are 2,500 miles away from the California coast and 6,000 miles away from our friends in Asia. Nevertheless, there's only one atmosphere, and we share it. So we are connected with one another through every breath we take. And as you breathe, you might notice your chest rising and falling, or your belly going in and out, or something else. You might become aware of your heartbeat. You may become aware of other sensations in your body. Just notice what you notice. You don't have to try. You can just relax and just be with whatever sensations arise. If you notice a pleasant sensation, you can say thank you. If you notice pain, you can say some empathy to yourself. You can just acknowledge anything that's uncomfortable in your body with warmth, with care. You may also be aware of emotions arising and falling away. If there are pleasant emotions, you can greet them with gratitude. If they're unpleasant emotions, you can greet them with empathy. Each sensation and emotion is interdependently connected to a need, to something that's important to you. So just ask yourself a gentle question if you'd like. What's important to you right now? What are you needing? What are you valuing? What are you longing for? Whatever words work for you to get you connected to the other thing we all share interdependently, which is our needs. We all need air, we all need water, we all need food, we all need love. So this is a point of connection for us. If your eyes have been closed, you can open them again if you'd like. And as you stay connected to your needs, just imagine that every single other person on the call that was doing the exercise is also connected to their needs. And just imagine that they have the same needs as you do. Whether they're in Taiwan or Maui or Vermont or India, Singapore, Australia, wherever you are, connected with one another. And the last part of nonviolent communication is requests. So I'll make a request of you that in just a moment you get the opportunity to go to a small group, unless you put an equal sign in front of your name. And in that small group, there'll be a chance to connect for about 3 minutes each. So Jori, if you would just check the timer and make sure it's set for about 9 minutes. And it's a chance to practice honesty and empathy. Honesty is just where you share what's alive in you in response to our gathering here today. What are you feeling? What are you needing? What did you like or not like about this exercise? Was it meaningful for you? Did you learn anything? Did you hate it? Whatever your authentic experience is welcome to be shared. And what you'll get back is warmth and silence. Just warm presence. Nobody will try to correct you or give you any advice. We're just going to practice silent empathy. So 2/3 of the time you'll be just listening with an open heart. And about 1/3 of the time, you can practice speaking from the heart.
And I'm going to suggest that we actually make this breakout room a little bit longer because it looks like about a quarter of the people have come in since I made the rooms, which means that it'll take me a bit to get them in there. So I'm going to change it to 12 minutes, Jim, unless that doesn't work for you.
That's fine,
Okay, or
Jori. That's
anybody
fine.
else? Okay, and I will do my best to get everybody in. You'll get a 1 minute warning when the room is going to close, and we'll go from there. Okay. And with that, I will open the rooms, and all of you who have come in later, just be patient. I'll get you in rooms as fast as I can. And I'll do what you just asked me to do while you chat
Okay.
with me.
And here we are interdependently back again. So much fun to see you all coming back. Again, we're celebrating Interdependence Day here today. So I'll keep bringing that theme to our attention. In the United States, we're celebrating Independence Day. And we'll talk about the difference between interdependence and independence as we go. But first, I'd just love to hear if there's anything up for you so far that you'd like to share with the large group. Anybody want to say anything to everybody else that's here? If you don't know
Jim,
how to,
may I speak?
yeah, who's that? Jaya? Yeah, go ahead, Jaya.
Yeah, I just want to uh, um express my appreciation for this space that you all have created. And even though I came in at the last minute and I don't have my video on, I found three lovely people welcoming me. And in that moment, I am a little shy and hesitant always to kind of show up. And I just felt so, included and accepted and seen and heard in those 2 minutes. It's unbelievable the kind of shift it created in me. And I just felt, I mean, this joy inside my heart that sitting somewhere so far away and still being connected to these people who warmly accept me for who I am in that moment and willing to embrace me is so amazing. And I want to thank each one of you and you all especially for keeping this space alive for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaya. It's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure. I'm glad you're enjoying it as much as I am. Anybody else? If you don't know how to raise your hand and you want to raise your hand, at the bottom of your screen, there's a bunch of little things that say like participants, and one of them is reactions. It has a little smiley face with a plus. And if you click on that, then it opens up a place where you can raise your hand like Juliana just did. Hey, Juliana, what's up for you?
Good morning, Jim. Lovely to be here and see all of you. And so I'm just asking you for a little clarity on we say that universal, and and yet different people may have a different extent of needing and something or the other. So how do you look at that? Just to have your perspective, please.
Are you saying that you're noticing that even though we may all have the same needs, we may have different strategies for meeting those needs? Is that what you're saying?
No, not strategies, different extent.
A different extent, a different priority of needs.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's my experience. Even for me, like at about 3 o'clock in the morning this morning, I had a much greater need for sleep than I did for play or food. And so I think that needs are dynamic, that we as we go through from moment to moment, different needs come alive in us, and that we are drawn towards satisfying some needs over others. Like right now, I'm imagining many of us are here because we have a need for learning or community or growth. And right now, you might also still have a need for sleep, especially if it's early in the morning in India or late at night on the East Coast of the United States. But you're still here. So you're putting that need temporarily on the shelf. Doesn't mean you don't have the need anymore. Just means that you're making a choice about which need to attend to. Does that make sense, Juliana?
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. If you had it, probably other people did too. Anybody else have anything you'd like to share? Another question that's up for me is last week, Rena was here. Rena's here again this week. She doesn't have her camera on at the moment, but I would love it. And if I'm imagining Rena would love it too, to hear any feedback about how you were affected by what you learned with Rena last week. I got something in the chat from somebody that was really sweet to read, but anything that anyone would like to share about what you learned or experienced last week, go ahead, Siva.
Rena, it's so good you're here. What I learned is that when you notice something about yourself, like you're angry, you also notice you have choices. That was it.
Great. Yeah, so
we have choices. We don't have to focus on that particular need, whatever the particular need is. We can realize that we did choose to pay attention to whatever the need was.
Yeah. So really acknowledging your choice, your freedom, your autonomy. Yeah. Beautiful. A wonderful takeaway. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, I see Sarah Joy. A human hand up rather than a little yellow hand. Go ahead.
Glad you found me. Thank you. I'll just say that I'm so grateful for Rena's deep ability to listen and have compassion and to be able to stay with any situations of conflict and make it comfortable for me to just watch and see how things unfolded. And it was a very great learning experience for me. So thank you, Rena. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jim and Jori.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody else? Aviva, I see your hand.
First, I was just curious, did you all watch, or did you already get like the summary of last week?
I haven't watched it yet. I've been just getting back from vacation today. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. I hope you had fun. No need. So my short summary would be that Rena did an incredible job of facilitating something that there was a particular incident that came up that was really hard that we then spent a lot of time on as a group, and Rena handled that very well, and that was very nice to see. I mean, it was more than nice, it was skilled, and set boundaries in a healthy way where we needed to set boundaries, and kept going to honor people where to keep going. So that was, and we actually gave feedback to her in the class. Some of us did in the class last week in the chat also, and it worked really well. And she gave us plenty of breakout rooms, which also was good. And I think the week before that, we had a guest person. I think we had less opportunity for breakout rooms and less opportunity to talk. And I think maybe that time the facilitation was more talking or teaching, I mean. And so what I realized is what really works. Oh, and the other big takeaway was, or at least for me, I would love to, this is my request, I would love to see more often maybe you post a list of what the NVC needs are, different needs, and how we use that in our four step, whatever. Because somebody said last week that they're not interested in Marshall. They're not interested in just how we're doing and just touchy feely. They're interested in trying to learn how to use the steps themselves. So that was fabulous. Thank you.
Aviva, I was a little uncertain about what you were saying about the amount of time that you were in the large group talking as opposed to in the breakout rooms. I didn't.
I think this is just my preference. I like having at least 2 breakout rooms per class, the way y'all do it, the way Jori and Jim, the way y'all do it. And I think 2 weeks ago, we only had 1 breakout and we had a lot of more like lecturing. And that, I think for me, I just like more of the participatory.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Now I understand what you were pointing to. Thanks.
Thank you.
And
And
Jean
I
Marie?
see that Jean. Yeah, Jean Marie.
Yes, in addition to what was expressed about last week's presentation and gathering, after our session, we had the opportunity to stay on, like a fellowship, to ask if there were any questions. And I kind of stayed on, which is unusual. I just was curious to know a little bit about Rena. And one of the things I heard in that in that session was Rena mentioned about the whole experience for her was a grace moment. Grace. And I was so touched by that. And so I asked the question to describe a little bit more of what grace is. And I've taken what she shared with me for the week, and I'm going to share with you what she said about grace, which really touched my heart and made sense to me. She said grace is just like modeling. When the sun rises, when the universe contributes, something happens in my heart. Knowing and believing and receiving, not just drawing from another, but just receiving. Receiving, knowing that there is enough. A very spiritual experience. So I thank you, Rena, and I loved that, and I've cherished that image and that experience.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I see some applause too. Rena, would you like to just check in with how it is for you to receive this feedback?
Yeah, this is grace in working, I mean, there is so much that happens when we intend to touch lives with what's really, from the space of gratitude. And I think I cherish that there is group wisdom, and we are all here for the same purpose to, where life is calling life itself. So living interdependently is what we experienced. Holding care for one person, knowing that it matters to all. And hearing your words, each one of you, I feel seen and held. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena, and thank you so much for supporting our community last week, and also on Friday or Saturday for you with another class that you substituted for us. I really appreciate that sense of community and support, and you having our back and having the back for this community. So thank you very, very much. Patricia, and then we'll move into the lesson for today. Patricia?
Yeah, I think that your choice of topic, Jim, for today is subversive. As an American, you're supposed to be celebrating independence, not interdependence. What is wrong with you? So I'm sitting here chuckling, and I'm thinking, you're a revolutionary at heart. So Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for seeing me. It's a great little segue into the class, Interdependence Day, Transcending Dependence and Independence. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we started transforming Independence Day into Interdependence Day soon after we met Marshall, and our community in Albuquerque would get together and have a big party every Interdependence Day. My dream would be that this would become an international holiday, that it would be settled on, that it would be celebrated on every country's Independence Day. Lots of countries have Independence Day, and independence is important, but it's not the end, it's the middle as far as I can tell. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we'll start with a quote from Marshall here. And I'll read it for people that may not be able to see the screen. It might be blurry for some people or whatever. So I will read it. It says, conflicts, even of long-standing duration, can be resolved if we can just keep the flow of communication going, in which people come out of their heads and stop criticizing and analyzing each other, and instead get in touch with their needs and hear the needs of others and realize the interdependence that we all have in relation to each other. We can't win at somebody else's expense. We can only fully be satisfied when the other person's needs are fulfilled as well as our own. So this is my dream. And I think Jori shares it with me, and probably all of you share it, that we find a way that everybody's needs can be reliably and abundantly satisfied. And I believe that we will find peace to be the natural consequence of everyone's needs being met. That it is the thoughts of scarcity and our fears that keep us from realizing our interdependence, that we actually have more than enough. It's a vast, vast world and a vast, vast universe. And there's more than enough for all of us to get our needs met reliably and abundantly. And then we're also shared in this dream with Mahatma Gandhi, who was one of Marshall's inspirations in developing nonviolent communication. Gandhi said, interdependence is and ought to be as much the ideal of man as self-sufficiency. Man is a social being. Of course, he's speaking in early 20th century language there. If we were to translate it into more modern English, it would be humans are social beings. Yeah. In fact, it would even be beyond that. Humans are part of a vast ecosystem of interdependence with all life. So that's what we're really aiming for in our practice of NVC. And as we practice, we can easily relate to some natural stages of human development. We start with dependence, right? In the beginning, we're so dependent on our mothers that we're actually inside of our mothers. We are completely dependent on the well-being of our mothers until we can be birthed into the world. And so we all begin our journey with dependence. We depend on mom to make sure that she gets her needs met, so that she can in turn help us to get our needs met until we grow enough in order to be birthed into the world and begin a journey of independence. And it starts out where with human beings and most other mammals, we're quite dependent on our parents and our community, because we cannot get our needs met. A human baby that is just born, there's no way that they can get their needs met without mom or dad or a community to support them in getting food, water, and so forth. And so there's a natural progression from dependence to independence. It's painful, both for the parent and for the child. It starts around the age of 2. And it's got this nickname, the terrible twos. I thought they were the terrific twos. I just loved it when our kids started thinking for themselves and expressing themselves, what their view of the world was, and beginning to differentiate themselves from us. But it still took a long, long time until, there's another big explosion of independence when puberty happens and the differentiation really in, increases dramatically in a healthy family system. And children become more and more adult. They become independent from their parents, and eventually maybe they go off and start their own families or go to school or whatever they do, and it looks like they're being independent. And for a lot of people, that's where we stop. We just think that we can do it on our own, but if we keep growing, we will quickly discover that we're actually interdependent. That even though we may have individualized our experience, our bodies and our minds may be distinct from our parents and other elders in our community, we still rely on one another forever. It never ends. We're always interdependent. And Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of nonviolent communication, noticed that this same pattern is present in how we learn nonviolent communication. So this is how it would look in a linear fashion. We start with dependence, naturally move to independence in a healthy system, and then naturally move to interdependence if the system is designed well to support us in our well-being. If we don't, if we stay stuck in independence, we can get stuck in what Marshall called emotional slavery. And what emotional slavery means, probably a 21st century way of saying that would be emotional enslavement. But what it means is basically we think that other people are responsible for our feelings and that we're responsible for other people's feelings. And so we are dependent on other people for our emotional well-being. And thus, if they are not well or angry, then we will suffer, and vice versa. So we become slaves to another person's emotional experience. This shows up as in all kinds of harmful ways, including abuse and harm and so forth. Somewhere along the way, we discovered the truth in Marshall's words that independence is an illusion. It's not, it doesn't really exist. And we become aware that there are these things called needs, and that we can become co-responsible in getting needs satisfied. But it starts off with this stage of obnoxious giraffe, where I see that I've got needs and I want to get them met. And I'm not totally connected yet to our interdependence. I'm even willing to get my needs met at your expense. But that ends up doing a feedback loop with emotional slavery. It can really trigger those old, painful patterns again. And everybody ends up suffering with what Marshall nicknamed obnoxious giraffe. Simply means that I care about my needs. I know I've got them now, but I'm not so connected yet that you have needs, that you have feelings, and that we're a part of an interdependent system. But once we awaken to our interdependence, we begin to experience emotional liberation. Emotional liberation means that I'm responsible for my feelings, you're responsible for your feelings, we're responsible for our feelings. We can learn to cooperate together in the great adventure of life and get our needs satisfied. Not at your expense. I'm not going to get my needs met at your expense anymore. And I'm going to do my best to support you in not getting your needs met at my expense. No more submission, no more rebellion, just cooperation, collaboration, and so forth. And then we'll be experiencing emotional liberation. So I'll pause there, see if there's anything that Jori wants to add or subtract.
No, I'm being lazy giraffe today. Got up way too early in the morning to do any kind of thinking right now.
Okay.
I'm
And
enjoying what you're saying though, Jim. Thank you.
sure. Siva, you have your hand up.
I have a big question. In the very first thing you showed from Marshall, it said, I think it said, don't analyze. And then everything else you said was an analysis. So specifically, this is a true question. In a two-person relationship, like a husband and wife, sort of the thing that what I love is that Don and Beth come as a couple, and they're the only couple besides yourselves that are studying together. And I think that's awesome. But here's the question. Is it helpful or not helpful to think of me and my needs and another person and their needs and a third entity as a separate being called our relationship?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
understand what I'm
Yes, I
saying?
do. And in
Is that
fact,
useful or not useful?
I find it incredibly useful. When we do couples work, we set it up with 3 parts, 2 individuals and a relationship. So yes, I'm on the same page with you for as much as that's
Okay,
worth.
thank
Me too,
you.
me too, Siva. I mean, it just seemed that drawing that I had up there of the circles coming together. You know, when there's 2 people coming together and they become they become a system, and that system has a life of its own. Jori and I have been married for 43 years now, and we nickname it the creature. Our relationship is the creature, and we do our best not only to feed our needs. I'm responsible for feeding my needs and contributing to Jori's. Jori's responsible for feeding her needs and contributing to mine, but also the relationship. We try to do something. It's not even try. We naturally do things that support the well-being of the relationship, and we do that through connection. We do that through finding out what's working and what's not working, through measuring, through getting feedback, and so forth. So yes, vitally important in any kind of a relational system, whether it's a couple, a family, a business, a nonprofit, a country, the United Nations, whatever it is. All these are creatures that need to be fed. Our relationship to the ecosystem. If I get my needs met at the cost of the ecosystem that I'm a part of, the ecosystem will pay, and eventually so will me, so will I and my ancestors. We're already suffering that now. So
and the creature is actually pointing toward, it's our creation. It's actually what we create together in our relationship. It's like giving birth to another creation.
Yeah, creativity is for me, creativity is right up there with air, food, water. It is that primal. It's a survival need that we stay in touch with creativity in order to maximize the opportunity to contribute to needs. Jaya?
Yeah, what is coming up for me is when you say I meet my need at the cost of the ecosystem. When I do that, we pay up, and yet I'm part of that ecosystem. And sometimes I'm so under-resourced to do it any other way. And so I do meet my needs at the cost of the ecosystem, and I pay up and I learn, and then I grow, and then I contribute to the ecosystem. So
Yeah.
I do see that there is a kind of that transition that is happening with all of us when we become part of the, we realize that we can contribute to the ecosystem beautifully.
That's right. That
I
makes,
love that. Yeah, I love that you make that point, Jai. I think that is a really important part because we are part of that creation. Thank you.
all right,
Thank
let's
you, Jai.
practice. So it's not just Jim talking and Jori adding her words here and there, but let's actually get a chance to practice. So we got two practices in mind today. The first one is pick something that you like. Make sure it's a physical object if you can, that you could put it into a wheelbarrow if you had a big enough wheelbarrow. So for this particular example, you could use ice cream, or you could use a particular a stuffed animal, or you could use any kind of an object, something you could hold in your hands, rather than something vague like love or energy or grace. All those are beautiful, but they won't work so great for this particular exercise. So pick something that has some apparent solidity to it. And just write down something that you really enjoy. Maybe it's something that you can see from where you're sitting right now. And just write down what it is, or make a note of it for yourself. And then tune into your body. Tune into your body and notice how your body responds when you're enjoying this thing. Like for me, this is watermelon season in North America. I've always loved watermelon. And so when I know there's a piece of watermelon in the refrigerator that I could have after this group today, and I had one yesterday, and when I just think about it, my mouth waters a little bit, and it brings back tons and tons of pleasant memories of hot summer days and cold watermelon, the juice, just savoring, noticing those feelings in my body as I enjoy that. So now you do that as well. Take your object, whatever it is, and use it as a stimulus to be with your body and its feelings. And then consider your needs. What needs of yours are satisfied when this object is present for you? I'll put the needs list up in case this is a new concept for you. Here's some of the needs that we human beings have. So for me, watermelon, those feelings point to sustenance, nurturance, community. I almost always have watermelon with friends. Beauty. And I see your note, Aviva. This is as big as I can make it on my screen. Sorry. Okay. You might be able to maximize it on your own Zoom screen by stretching it out, making people smaller and the needs list bigger. There's a little stretch way that you can stretch the image.
There's a little white dot in the middle of the line on the end of that that line on the right-hand side, just past interdependence to the right. And just you can pull that right or left and make that screen bigger or smaller. Was that clear? Someone shake.
Oh,
their
she
head.
says,
No.
oh, got it. Great, thanks.
Okay, great.
So we'll leave this up here for a minute or so while you just take it in, see what needs are related to the object that you chose. So objects, feelings, and needs are all part of an interdependent system. We experience the object, and our experience of the object, in my case, watermelon, is the same as my experience of the feelings of joy, fullness, anticipation, the needs for play, community, sustenance, food. They all arise together. And then we take it a little deeper. You savor that. We've been savoring that for the last minute or so. And then pick one part of that watermelon. In my case, I'm going to just pick the juiciness of it. So pick one aspect of it, of the object that you chose. Everything has parts to it. So you pick a part that's important to you and focus on it and do the same thing. Just kind of focusing down a little bit. Now, when I just think of just the juiciness of watermelon, I go back to my needs and I connect to the needs again. What needs are related to the juiciness of it? I don't even quite have a word for it, but it's like there's a sense of aliveness in my mouth and in my body. I guess it's related to nurturance. This has the juice of life in it, and it's linked to these memories. The juiciness is the thing that really is alive about watermelon. It's not the rind, although the rind too is important. I could do the same exercise with the rind, but I'm choosing to use the juice. What are you choosing? And connect it to needs. And savor those needs. Savoring just means to extend the pleasure of something. To deeply enjoy. And then you can go just a little bit deeper again. And pick something else about it. In my case, most watermelons these days don't seem to have seeds, but I just love the seeds of watermelon. I like spitting them. I like crunching on them. I like putting them between my fingers and squirting them at friends and play. I love planting them in the garden. You could also think about all the steps it took to get that object into your life. Like the fact that Jori picked that watermelon up at the grocery store for us the other day, or that our son cut me a piece of it. or that a farmer grew it and a trucker delivered it to the market, and then a ship brought it over from North America to Hawaii. People unloaded the ship, and then more truckers brought it from the dock to the store, and then people in the grocery store put it out onto the shelves, and then there was a clerk that checked me out, and I gave them money, and the money came from you, from some of you. Some of you contributed to this practice group, and that gave us the opportunity to go to the grocery store and buy that piece of fruit. So it's not just watermelon, it's the whole planet conspired to give me this experience. So Jori's got small groups ready for you. Go and
And I see Aviva has her hand up, Jim.
okay, great. Thanks for catching that, Aviva.
Thanks. I don't know if I should use it in the small group or now. It was sort of about getting stuck with identifying my need. So whatever you all think is better to.
How about you work it in the small group, and if it's still alive when you come back, then we'll work it with it then. How about that?
Sounds great.
Okay. So Jori, set these also for 12 minutes again.
Okay.
And the idea in the small groups is talk about this experience of connecting to the interdependence of something that you enjoy.
Okay. Oh,
What was this like for you?
All right. Give me a second here because I just noticed we had someone who did not want to be in the group, breakout this time. All right. So now I'm ready to open it up, and we'll.
All right. So let's check in first with Aviva. Are you still here, Aviva? Yes. Did you get your question answered, or is it still alive?
Oh, it feels so funny getting all this attention. Oh, I'm embarrassed. Well, I will put it out there. It's worth it. Is that I was thinking my object that I like and I wanted was people, like to be with and play with outside. But also I've had COVID and I've been indoors for 9 days straight and haven't been with any people. But then I thought, I don't really want to be with all people. And it's kind of also, there's some like really frustrating interactions with some people. And so there's this, I felt stuck all of the sudden. So I was going to ask you like what to do about that. But what happened was in my small group, there were these amazing women from literally on the other side of the world that I'd never met before. And I got like company and similar, like it was just really nice to be with them. And so I realized that to meet my need of wanting people that I could frolic with outside in Philadelphia or take a walk, it doesn't actually have to be the person that's outside my door to take a walk. It could be someone on the other side of the world that I'm talking to on Zoom.
Yeah. Yes. So you really stretched your capacity to find other strategies to meet your needs with the support of your community. Yes, and Jaya sets off some fireworks for Interdependence Day. Wonderful of you. Yes.
But yeah, thank you. I do wonder that tension when you feel like you need companionship and people, but you also are having frustrations with some people that you're interacting with, and how you sort of deal with that.
Yeah. That's a great question. And I think that's a very universal experience because we all, as far as I know, I'm just going to make a generalization. Maybe there's an exception, but I think we all have preferences. We all have preferences. And so we choose usually to hang out with the people that we prefer to hang out with. And then sometimes we get surprised, circumstances arise and we get thrown into a Zoom room with two people that we don't even know, and we find out, oh, they're within my range of preference, and I can enjoy these people that I'd never even knew before. Or you sit next to somebody on a plane. It's been a long time since I've been on a plane, but or a bus or whatever, and or sitting in standing in line with somebody, and you find out, oh, wow, there's another person that I probably would not have ordered up on the menu to meet or hang out with this person, but it's okay. We can find something to enjoy, and my preferences are still really clear. That there are some people that I probably wouldn't want to go and like have a 2-week vacation at their house, right? And that's fine. There's 8 billion people almost on the planet. So and we only need around 100 people to hang out with. So we can really exercise our freedom and our choice and find the ones that are the most fun. Does that make sense to you, Aviva? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sanjit.
I see Sanjita has her hand up.
Great, Sanjita, let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a lovely exercise. I was with Shalu and Isabel and in the group. At first, when you just asked us to take the object, to think of the object, and I took it in my hand and I savored a pastry, a gooey, rich chocolate truffle pastry. And then when you went down and you tried to take us to the next step of something inside the pastry, any one element inside that pastry. And I was a little lazy there. And I said, don't you think that it would be the same needs that would pop up? But I was willing to explore. And what makes it more fun is when you're exploring those needs. And as you're sharing in the breakout room, Shalu had taken French fries and she spoke about the nurturance and the salt and, the longest, the French fry, the tallest the French fry, she tends to want to pick that up from the bunch of French fries which is in front of her. So we broke it down to the salt in the French fries and the gooey sweetness of the pastry and how they complement each other. And you wouldn't want to eat a French fry, a saltless French fry, or a absolutely bland, no sugar pastry without that icing. So there was the interdependence that we came up with, between something which is within that pastry, something which is so complementing that French fry.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I love it.
Beautiful. And I'm laughing because somebody left because they really wanted their French fries.
Yes, that was Shalu herself, the one I'm speaking about in the breakout room.
Oh, okay. I thought that was you who had the French fries. Okay.
That's wonderful. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sanjita. I really appreciate how you unpacked. See, this is the act of savoring. Even when I usually do savoring, it's just like one layer of savoring. And this is a way to unpeel, to get ever more depths of savoring. And I think one of my main inspirations in this was there's a Buddhist teacher who recently died named Thich Nhat Hanh. And Thich Nhat Hanh talked about, his word was interbeing, inter-being, that we are all interbeing with each other and we interbe with everything in our environment. And it has slowed me down to be able to experience um, so much more depth of enjoyment, of savoring, so that I'm now willing to stop. Now I'm lucky. I have a fairly retired lifestyle. I'm no longer embroiled in the business world in the way that I used to be, and so forth. And so Jory and I can be on a walk, and I'll just stop, and I'll just notice whatever there is to notice, and see these lines, or they're lines of connection between me
Yeah.
and nature, and maybe me and other people, me and my neighbors, me and Jory, and just to enjoy that interbeing, that interdependence with them. To say, I'm never alone. I can have solitude, and I can feel lonely, but if I'm honest, I'm never alone. I'm sharing this planet with all of you and with 8 billion other people. And it just has really deepened my experience of being um, rich, rich in a different kind of a way. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with,
Jim, I would just like to add one more, what's coming alive as you speak, that I do live alone. And the moment I picked on that pastry, and then when I peeled those layers, the deepest layer got the word love. And I love that gooiness of the sweetness of that pastry, you know. So that being with that pastry can meet my need for love.
yes,
So
yes,
just the pastry can meet my need for love. It
yeah,
doesn't have to be a human being or being with somebody.
that's right.
That's yeah.
Yes, and did you make the pastry, or did somebody else make it?
No, obviously not me. I would
Then
prefer to buy it from
somebody else loved that pastry into existence so that you could love the pastry. And then that pastry, you took it
absolutely.
into your body. You took it into your body with that savoring, and then it actually became you. You are
Lovely.
what you
Yes.
eat. So you became that sweet, loving, gooey thing that is Sanjita. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share some deliciousness?
Hi.
Yes. Go
She
ahead,
mute,
Odie. I think that
you
was Odie.
unmuted yourself. Yeah, you
Oh,
unmuted yourself and then there
yeah,
you
go ahead,
go.
Odie.
Unmute yourself. Great.
Yeah, hi. This is Odile. And I had a question wondering what the thoughts were. Just listening to this sharing of how delicious and savoring and this experience with an object which could be coffee or cake or fries, and how we can deeply connect to it. Wondering what the thoughts were about. We keep hearing about we we need to connect to people, not to things.
You could,
There's some sort of a judgment associated with enjoying things versus enjoying people.
yeah.
The yeah.
I catch it. I catch what I think you're pointing to, that some of us really live in a materialistic kind of mind frame, especially here in the West. I don't know what it's like in Singapore, but here we are very object oriented. But you could do the exact same exercise with a person that you really care about, whether they're alive or whether they're passed on, whether they're a historical feature, even a fictional character. You can do the same thing. You can bring to mind a particular person that you really enjoy, notice the feelings that come alive in terms of that enjoyment, link those feelings to the need, savor that need, then pick one aspect of that person and drill down a little bit more. And like, say, for example, if I was going to choose Jori, She loves it when I pick on her in practice groups. I mean, there's just this whole experience of Joriness that I've enjoyed for 43 years. But if I was to highlight, one thing that I really enjoy about her is she laughs at my jokes, right? And so I could just pay attention to what it's like when her presence lets me know she gets me, and she laughs at something that I say, and that meets a need, that brings alive a feeling of shared joy, of connection, of love. And that's taking me, the feelings and needs words start getting all mixed up, and then I can then think about, how did Jory come into my life? And then there was a whole thing about how Jory and I met. Very unlikely that somebody from the northeast part of the United States would meet somebody from the southeast part of the United States in the middle of the country. And yet that's what happened. And it was because certain people did certain things. And so other people were involved. And so I can appreciate my friend Joan Wimberly, who introduced me indirectly to Jory. She never met Jory until probably our wedding. But if it wasn't for Joan, I wouldn't have met Jory. And likely, and I wouldn't have met Joan if it hadn't been for David. And on and on and on and on it goes. This interweaving, this interbeing that we all have. So yes, do it with people too. Appreciate all the people in your life. And you can do the same exercise of enjoying the interdependence. Does that make sense, Odile?
Yeah, and my question also is, Jim, is it considered virtuous to be savoring people versus things? How would one view that? Because living alone, and very often we may or may not have people around us, but we definitely have access to things.
Yeah, I savor both.
Yeah.
And I don't know that one is right and one is not. Maybe a different kind of savoring, but still, actually it's like an emotion. That savoring seems to be the same emotion sometimes, that it's people or things. For me, that's my experience.
The same for me. For me, the virtue is in the savoring, not in the stimulus. The virtue is in the connecting to the need, or connecting to the Marshall called it beloved divine energy. And whatever gets you there, use that, do more of it, live in that feel. That, I think that's what Rena was pointing to when she talked about grace. That's the field, out beyond right doing and wrong doing, where we are living together interdependently in that field of beloved divine energy. Whatever gets you there, do more of that.
Mm-hmm. And I see Sarah Joy has her hand up.
Yeah, I was really enjoying this conversation, and I looked at it a little bit differently. I hope memories are okay, and I guess you're also using them. And I picked coffee, and it's just something that has it's been in my life since I was a little girl. When my parents dropped 4 kids off at my mother's and at her mother and father's place, and they took a break, and we ended up staying overnight. In the morning, I usually was sitting next to my grandfather with his black coffee, and I had my glass of milk, and I would point to it, and he would spoon, his coffee into my milk. And I became a coffee lover early on. And later I went to Spain and fell in love with café con leche, and eventually moved to Seattle and learned about Starbucks, and then learned about all the microbreweries. But what it connects me with is all the experiences that I've had around it. Plus, I love the smell and the taste of it. But just being with friends in a coffee shop, or sitting in Paris watching people pass by while I'm enjoying a cup of coffee, and the people who are with me, or traveling to Kenya when I developed a dairy sensitivity and could no longer have my café con leches. And I tasted Kenyan coffee, and it's the first time. It was so delicious. I could have coffee without milk. and really appreciate coffee again. And also, how I'm supporting a market that is important for another country. And, when I buy Ethiopian or Kenyan coffee or Costa Rican or whatever, and also coffee made here. I like all of it. And contribution, my needs are met for contribution and care and consideration. And I appreciate all the work that goes into developing the taste and flavors of all of the coffee and how it's gotten to market and how they're competing with the wine industry of having all these smells and tastes that, are, flower blossoms and other kinds of things, chocolate tastes, but which aren't really in there, but I love it anyway. Just the description is fun. And I'm, just grateful for the memories I have of when I was in college and I was training in judo and I had to be disciplined and I couldn't have a lot of sweets. But after my workout, I would stop and have my Haagen-Dazs chocolate chip, coffee chip ice cream on my way home. And, just like, I think for me, I'm due the middle of the way with everything. I learned in college when I had to stay up for my finals that drinking coffee all night was not good for me. And I was not good the next day or the next day or the next day. So I'm good with a cup of coffee or a cup and a half, most 2 cups of coffee, and I'm good. So,
all right. I'll give you a hand. Go ahead. Coffee.
Yes,
I
it's
do love it.
so rich. I mean, my mouth watered several times during Sarah Joy's talk. Probably maybe yours did too. That's empathy, resonant empathy. My brain is connecting with Sarah Joy's brain. I'm having my own experience of coffeeness with her. So this savoring can be a shared event. That's connection. That's us sharing some beloved divine energy. I can't drink coffee anymore, but I still love coffee ice cream. So thank you, Sarah Joy, for celebrating coffee with us. And it even connects me to somebody figured it out. One of our ancestors figured out that you could take the beans from this particular plant, grind them up, pour boiling water over it, and get a little bit of a buzz. How wonderful that we had an ancestor who was willing to experiment. How many different things did they try before they discovered coffee? And tea, and this and that and the other thing, all the things that we enjoy. One of our ancestors discovered everything that we enjoy. We have our ancestors to thank for that. And likewise, our descendants, those who come after us, they will enjoy the fruits of the things that you plant in the world, the discoveries that you make, the seeds of nonviolence that you plant in your life. They will benefit from that. Yeah. Go ahead, Allison. You want to say something, or is that just a wave of celebration? You're muted.
You're muted. I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear the sound.
There we go. So this kind of streamed off of Jim, your initial thing about the oxygen and the carbon dioxide and that give and take there, and which was kind of mind-boggling to me. I've heard those facts for years. I've lived with those facts, but the way that you had presented it was so interpersonal, it was so relational. And I never understood that I could maybe be making a contribution to the plants, that they were giving me oxygen, and I felt very indebted, And then you said, well, no, wait, and you're giving them the carbon dioxide because you don't need it and they do. And it was very transforming to me. It's like, oh, I'm not just a taker. There's this natural, and I don't have to effort, neither the plants, and nobody's efforting. And so
and I was sort of what Jori was saying too about, the concern of the itness, because the way that itness being done, it can be separating. But I picked a pansy for my thing, and the more that I went into the parts of the pansy that I thought were, attributes of the pansy, and wasn't an it anymore. After that, it wasn't an it. That life force in the pansy was very easy to celebrate, and the itness of it being an object melted away more and more and more.
Yes.
And so I thank you. I've loved this this journey. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The itness dissolved in your emness. Right? Yes. Yes. And I want to just highlight something that someone put into the chat, if I can find it again. Oh, yeah. Faye said, perhaps if we savored things more, we would be less likely to accumulate things because we would be more satisfied with the things that we have, not needing to always have more. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that savoring could be such a contribution to saving our planet? That we have enough. I read. I was really, I start the day every day with morning. Next week we'll talk a little bit more about morning and do the other exercise I had planned today, which is a morning exercise, and we'll do that next week. And I read about now I'm going to sound like an old fogey because I'm 66, right? And so I read something about the younger generation, these 20 somethings, these Instagram influencers, and how they're so into new clothes and new fashions that sometimes they only wear something once or twice before they try to get rid of it. And then they have these millions of followers, tens and thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers that are being influenced by them. So they go out and they buy this really cool shirt and then they wear it twice. And then they say, I'm done with that shirt and I'm going to go get another shirt. And so as a result of that, places like Goodwill in the United States and Salvation Army and these used clothing stores, they're overwhelmed with used clothes. They have too much. And so now they have to figure out what to do with too much that has been created. And so now they ship it off to some other place, usually in a global South country, where I'm very sad that they often are the place that we send the stuff that we discard, and then we ask them to deal with it, which I suppose there's some interdependence in that, maybe some jobs created, but it just stimulates a lot of mourning that we waste so much food, we waste so much clothing, and they just tear it all apart, and then they recycle the textiles and make another round of wear it twice shirts. I've had this shirt for 10 years. I love this shirt. Why? I savor the shirt every time I put it on. It makes my eyes look a little bit bluer. So anyway, we're almost done.
Actually, I've had this shirt, Jim, since before I even knew you.
I think you're right. Yes, that's right.
On my trip to Mexico.
Yes. So let's do our end of the class pieces here so that someone asked earlier about recording. So Rena's recording will be available. John's recording from a couple of weeks ago, there was a problem with it. So we have not figured out how to recover that. But most of the classes, the recordings are available at the link that I just put into the chat. There are over 50 recordings there now, maybe even 100 by now. And you're free to use them. You can use them for your own practice groups. You can do whatever you would like. Enjoy that interdependence.
Yeah. It's actually how we started learning NVC. We had practice groups and we used videos that other people had done to be able to share them and then talk about them. So
And eventually I'll have more handouts and little slideshows and so forth up there. Just it's on the list of things to do. The second link in the chat is some ways that you can buy my book called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication. We would enjoy that you buy it. It's a fundraiser for the Center for Nonviolent Communication, the organization that Marshall founded. And we use it in this class as a way to stay connected to these skills. And there's some ways that you can order it there for free shipping. And also, my preference is that you ask your local library to get a copy, or 10 or 20, and also order it from your local bookstore to support the small businesses in your town, if that's a possibility. And then we do all of our work here with nonviolent communication in the spirit of compassionate giving and receiving, experiencing interdependence. Any money that you give to us helps us to continue to do the work that we love. And you can give money directly to the Center for Nonviolent Communication by following that link, or you can follow this link, which takes you to our PayPal account, and give us the money, and then we'll pay it forward to support nonviolent communication projects all over the world. Next week, we will continue our exploration of interdependence, and we'll also bring in the what would you call it? There's always this yin and yang in the world, right? This masculine energy and this feminine energy, another way of looking at it. And so interdependence is this kind of feminine energy. And next week we'll explore the masculine energy of autonomy or freedom, or moving towards building something in the world. And and then the third week in the series, we'll do the dance between autonomy and interdependence. But so next week we'll be focusing on getting in touch with your own creativity and coming out of that savoring energy in order to contribute to make life more wonderful. And in 1 minute, we will pause the class and end the recording. But anybody who wants to stay,
Siva has her hand
I see
up.
it. I see it.
Okay.
Anybody who wants to stay, you're welcome to stay and go back to small groups and hang out some more and enjoy the rest of your Interdependence Day.
I could ask later, but I don't. It seems to me you've abandoned the idea of going through your book again, and you're.
I have not abandoned that idea. It's cooking. It's cooking. Probably start again in August.
I feel it cooking. I feel it cooking. But
It's cooking.
Another question is, it seems to me this would be there could be at college levels, there could be NVC courses and also high school courses where you sign up for a semester and you do what we do every Monday night.
I think so. Yeah, why not? There have been courses that have been at the university.
So can I pause this conversation, because I don't think it's a group conversation. I want to be able to put people into their small groups if they would like to be there. I'll open up the rooms. You have a choice whether you go or not. If you want to stay here and listen to that conversation, I'll put you into a room later. But for those of you who would like to go into your rooms, again, if other people have left your room, your room, I'll be moving you around. All right.
So
and with
let's
that,
just say
I also,
goodbye to
by the
everybody.
way, by the way, I just saw Nikhil Ananda with his hand up.
Yeah. So happy Interdependence Day, everybody. Really enjoyed hanging out with you today.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Lovely.
And happy
Alrighty.
Interdependence Day.
If you find yourself alone, just give me a moment. I'll move you on. Here we go, opening the rooms.
And Siva, you can stay here or come right back and I'll answer your question.